The MTV Unplugged series was home of some of the most monumental moments in music history, music and rock history. Does anyone ever think that something is groundbreaking when it's actually happening? I wonder what these people thought watching this in the audience. What anyone who was lucky enough to be in the audience for these MTV Unplugged, I wonder if they thought at the time that this was something crazy. Or maybe they did, but they didn't realize just how good it was until years later you look back and you're like, man, nothing even comes close to the feeling that I get, the hairs that stand up in the back of my neck. We're going to cover the MTV Unplugged version of Nutshell by Alice in Chains, one of the most honest and raw, simple songs of that time. Every time I watch this performance of Nutshell, it reminds me that pain doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like someone just doing their job. This was their job as artists, but it could look different for other people. Someone who's teaching a class at a cash register someplace, working in an office. It's different for everybody. And as they're going about their business, they're carrying battles that no one sees. On the outside, life can look organized. We're working, we're creating. We're taking care of people. We're taking care of our pets, our kids if you have them, our families, our business. We're trying to stay healthy, but mentally it could feel like we're barely holding it together. And sometimes you need to admit that the willpower and just push through it isn't enough. We can't control how our brains work sometimes. And a lot of pain comes from trying to control things that you can't. Sometimes you need someone in your corner who actually knows how to unpack what's going on in your head and not just say, stay positive or be grateful. And that's why therapy has become a non-negotiable part of my life. I need a place where I can talk honestly without worrying about burdening friends or sugarcoating things for family. That's where today's sponsor, BetterHelp, makes things easier. You fill out a short questionnaire, and within a couple of days you get matched with a licensed therapist, someone who's actually trained to help you work through all that stuff that loops in your head. And if the first therapist isn't a good fit, which happens, you can switch, no extra charge. I've had to do that before, but that could be exhausting. And BetterHelp makes that a lot easier to deal with. They've got 4.3 stars on Trustpilot, so people are actually having helpful life experiences with the platform and not just empty promises. BetterHelp accepts both HSA and FSA cards, making it even easier to prioritize your mental health. In 2024 alone, there was 137,000 people who used their HSA or FSA benefits for therapy through BetterHelp. So be sure to use yours before they expire. If you've been waiting or putting off therapy for the right time, then this might be the sign that you needed. So go to the link in the description, betterhelp.com/Anthony Vincent for 10% off of your first month. And honestly, taking that first step can lift some of the weight in and of itself. Now let's watch Nutshell by Alice in Chains live from MTV Unplugged. It's something else, man. I mean, listen to that. Just those two lines right there, to start a song like that, it not only just sets the tone, but it says most of the song. When you think about the idea of misprinted lies, I feel like it's the distorted truth that we're all fed from a young age through television, through social media now, if you're a part of this generation. This idea of fame, validation, pleasure, drugs. These are things that are promised to satisfy, but as we know, it just puts people in an endless cycle of self-destruction, self-sabotage, and chasing something that doesn't exist. Satisfaction. The next line, we face the path of time. And what that says, what that's saying is that no matter how much we chase our drug of choice, eventually that chase will come to an end. Whether that means we die or there's some consequence to that of whatever behavior patterns we're locked into or we're stuck in, it's always going to hand off into reality. You can't stay in fantasy forever, or you can't stay in this cycle forever. Nothing lasts forever to begin with. I know this is a song that we've heard many, many times, but when you really think about what is being said in those two lines, that's like the entire song to me already.
I fight this battle all alone. No one to cry to.
You can tell, like, when you can tell someone is just, I feel it. I feel dread when I listen to this. I feel like a pit in my stomach, or maybe not dread, but just like an emptiness. You can feel that he's just there, but he's there as a vessel to this emotion. You know, those lines, and yet I fight, this battle all alone, no one to cry to, no place to call home. I mean, how many times have we heard stuff like that? It's so simple, but when you think about fighting, you think of someone who's tough. It's like there's someone who's a hero, you know, and is fighting something, and you know, they come out on top. But this is more of like an admission that I fight, but it's the feeling of exhaustion. The feeling I get from anytime Lane says this battle all alone, it's not loneliness. It's not just being alone. It's isolation. It's severe isolation. I'm seeing a cycle of self-destruction versus survival. Fighting to stay alive while feeling he doesn't deserve to be alive. I know that I analyze vocals, but it's hard to see this in a technical way. It's hard for me to look at a performance like this and hear it as just like, you know, technique, because there's something else going on here. There's actual pain. That right there, a lot of people would just think of that as a filler in a song. Like, I feel like that's like a release valve. Like that's like, you know, kind of almost letting air out of a balloon or something, and it's your soul. It's like letting your soul go a little bit, like releasing some of this tension. That's what it feels like to me. This is, I think, kind of explaining a lot of the exploitation. And I know Kurt Cobain went through a lot of this too back then. You know, back when rock stars were actually making the tabloids and stuff, and people put their struggles on display. You don't really see a lot of that too much. I mean, we had a couple of years ago, Machine Gun Kelly was running around with Megan Fox like he was Tommy Lee and Heather Locklear. And, you know, it just seemed very staged. But back in the 90s, I remember a lot of these singers who had addiction struggles, they'd be covered a lot in the news, tabloids and stuff. And the line, "the gift of self is raped," I feel like it's like the most sacred part of someone. Before you're introduced to any industry and you have any kind of success that these guys had, and a lot of us don't know what that's like, because it's a whole other animal to be that well known and be considered a household name, especially back then when they were being labeled as grunge bands, and it was a whole thing. It was this changed everything, you know, it was a monumental shift in pop culture. So I can't imagine what the pressure was like, and you lose yourself in that. I'm sure that there's so many challenges, especially if you're prone to addiction and you're around, you have the availability of anything you can get your hands on, and enablers who are around you probably. His identity, his art, his soul was violated. Imagine being in that position where your soul is just, you're taking on this ride. You sell your soul, so to speak, to this machine that, I mean, all it really cares about is making money off of you, whatever industry you're getting into. And the idea of my privacy is raked. Every wound becomes tabloid material, and every relapse becomes gossip. Some people have to deal with that. It's bad enough as it is that people have addictions and they go into recovery and they have to take it one day at a time and work on this. And then, you know, a lot of the time, and it's not black and white. Like, you know, you don't just go into recovery and you're automatically better. You might stop having slips and relapses a few years into recovery. And imagine, you know, you're just starting to make the effort to get better, and one relapse makes headlines. I don't know. You know, this is just the way that I'm interpreting all this.
If I can be mine.
This right here is like, I feel like the climax of the song, or like the centerpiece, because it's like the conclusion. And yet I find repeating in my head, it's a cycle. It's a feeling of being trapped in a behavioral pattern and feeling alone, and you're in isolation. You have a lot of shame. The noise, the shame, it just ends. It loops endlessly. And no matter how self-aware you are, and no matter how much you know, your rational mind wants to stop it. It's just something you keep falling into, and it's terrifying. It's just, there's no words. And this song found the words. And if I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead. I don't think it gets more to the point than that. To be my own is self-ownership. How can you own yourself when something else has completely taken over your life? And you're also just a number in a machine, in an industry, on top of all of that. And the ironic thing is that it doesn't go unnoticed, that we can listen to this and we know. A lot of people know. I don't know if people knew that back then, if people thought like everyone's just always having a good time. You notice how they think that success is being famous and having a lot of money, and it just blows my mind how the people who are there, and we see them, it's always a struggle. There's always something that they struggle with. Addiction, depression, usually a mix of both, and validation traps on social media. You know, that's part of it. Imagine having a song like this that plays the same thing over and over again, and it feels like you're existing inside this experience. I can imagine that they are on another plane. The atmosphere, they disappeared into the atmosphere. That's why there's not much I can say about this technically. Vocally, what can you really say about it? If anything, it proves that highly impactful songs, a lot of the time, making an impact is done inadvertently when you don't want to make an impact. But you have found a way to use music as a form of art and self-expression to the point where you're not overthinking it. And sometimes you are just saying a line, if I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead. Think about that line in any other context. It's almost too simple to be good. Like when you read these lyrics, a lot of the times, like when I'm writing lyrics, you know, I overthink, or I've always had that tendency to overthink, and I'll come up with something that I feel like it needs to rhyme. I feel like it needs to have a chorus. And this is just like a little tiny poem. We chase misprinted lies, we face the path of time, and yet I fight this battle all alone. No one to cry to, no place to call home. My gift of self is raped, my privacy is raked, and yet I find repeating in my head, if I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead. Imagine that's the song. This is a highly impactful song. This struck a chord with so many people, and still to this day, it can make grown men cry alone when no one is watching. It just hits. There's not much that needs to be said other than this. And as far as the performance, Lane was practically singing this in his sleep. It's a very tired sound. Face the path of time. Like, if I were to sing this, I can sing this and just mentally just doze off and let my body just go on autopilot, let my voice go on autopilot, and that is kind of the way it's supposed to be sung, because it's like you're taking your mind out of it. You're taking thinking about how you sound out of it. This song is not the time for that. This is pure emotion, and letting that shine through. So, yeah. What do you think? Give me some songs in the comments that make you feel the same thing that this song makes me feel, or this song makes you feel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.